Wagwan Road Boy, and welcome to the review of the second generation of the T4E TP50 or HDP50 by Umarex. Since I have recently made a detailed showcase and test of the TP50 as well as a video about all the different upgrade options, I think now is the perfect time to talk about my experience with it. Let's first get the positive aspects of this airgun out of the way. Starting with the price, which is around $100, and I think that's a very good price. You get your money's worth here with all the quality that comes with the TP50. From my experience, you can't expect much more out of an airgun which is only around $100. The new features that come with the Generation 2 are all also great in my opinion. The new fiber-optic sights look good and it's very easy to get on target quick. The new grip pattern allows for a secure grip, and the new quick piercing punch button also has its benefits. Like for example, it's much easier to screw it on and off, and also the safe pressure release function is also great because you don't have to rely on shooting until it's empty. As usual for these low priced T4E airguns from Umarex, the outside is entirely made out of a polymer or plastic, besides the punch button of course. And while I'm not a big fan of all plastic airguns, you do have to put the price into consideration, as well as the fact that the plastic or polymer by Umarex is probably the best one that I've put my hands on. It feels great, and also even when pressing hard on it, it doesn't give in. So feels good. What's also awesome about the TP50 is the fact that there are so many upgrade options out there. If you want to know more about them, feel free to watch my video about that topic. Now let's get to the negative parts about the TP50, starting with the trigger, which isn't great at all, to be honest. First of all, the trigger pull, or its resistance to be more specific, varies depending on which type of ammo you use. For example, when I shot aluminum balls, it was much harder to pull the trigger compared to rubber or nylon balls. And the second thing that I don't really like about this trigger is that you can't really sit on the wall. Usually when shooting pistols, you pull the trigger and release it up to the point where you hear a click, and then you can pull it again. So what you don't want to do is to slap the trigger like this. But here on the TP50 you don't really have a choice. You have to slap the trigger in order for it to reset properly. When you release the trigger to the point where you hear the first click, only the valve resets. So when you would then pull the trigger again, air would come out of the pistol, but you would have to release the trigger even further in order for the next ball to reset into the chamber. Therefore you kind of have to slap the trigger or release it entirely to make sure that a round or ball will come out of the airgun. That also leads to my second negative point about this airgun, which is that it's not really working good with all types of ammunition. Like I mentioned, it's first of all harder to pull the trigger with, for example, aluminum balls, and also I encountered another problem. So at first it was only very hard to pull the trigger with aluminum balls, but it worked. But now I can only shoot one at a time. If I load more than one into the magazine, then it doesn't work. No matter how hard I pull the trigger, when more than one aluminum ball is in the magazine, it won't shoot. But again, as mentioned, if I only load one into there, then it works. Don't really know what's the problem here, but not great. Now what I also dislike about the TP50 is the fact that you can only load up to 6 round balls into it. Which, just as a reminder, is just as much as the magazines of the HDR50 take. And they don't really care if it's a round ball or a shaped projectiles. Here it has to be a round ball. Only a speed loader like this from Home Defense 24 allows it to have a bigger ammo capacity. And while I'm already talking about this part where you load the ammunition into, I do feel like it's kind of inconvenient. Quickly reloading with the TP50 is basically impossible, and even if you go for a slow reload, it's kind of annoying doing it this way. The only way that it would be much more convenient would be with one of these speed loaders. It's still not perfect, but as good as it gets for the TP50. Now as a conclusion, even though I've talked about more negative parts about this airgun than positive parts, I would definitely recommend it, regarding that it's only around $100 and it's of great quality honestly. Would it be worth it to upgrade to the Generation 2 if you already own the TP50 Gen 1? Personally, I don't really think so, but obviously that's on you to decide. Maybe you value one of the new features that the Generation 2 has to offer. And one last thing that I'd like to address, because I sometimes get asked in the comments if I prefer the TP50 or HDR50, and honestly I would have to go with the HDR50, just because it takes just as many rounds, and it also takes basically any rounds as long as they fit into the magazine. But that should be it for today. Stay tuned for more. Bless and love.